going on, fellas? Thought I'd show you guys a little project I've been working on. It's a Hickory Longbow that I made at the 2010 Pathfinder gathering. Pretty much all I've used on this is for some of the bigger work I used the Pathfinder knife, and then on the rest of it I used a Mora 840 MG, and then for finer tasks just smaller hand files, and of course some sandpaper here and there. I had this in shooting condition once I actually left the gathering, but it's actually it's a bit too heavy for me. It's probably around 64, 65 pounds, which for me is a bit much. I got some shoulder problems, so that doesn't help it at all. So I'm going back and fine-tuning things now. Got to reshape the limbs a little bit, smooth them out, thin them down a little bit. Went through and finished up some of the knock areas yesterday, rounded this one out. You can see that one too well. I got that nice round end on that. And I'm going to go ahead and do that on the other one as well. I'd take care of that today, even that up a little bit. And also need to figure out what I want to do with the handle. Probably not going to put an arrow shelf in it, just because I don't want to end up breaking it, but we'll see how that goes. But so far it's looking pretty good. It's nice and straight. It's got good. See, getting the sun here. You can see that at all. It's kind of hard to tell. It's got typical kind of eye shape to it, with rounded towards the nocks. Also, I plan to probably stain this, maybe a dark brown, maybe a black handle. Haven't decided on any kind of wrap yet. So those are the next couple projects that are up, and I'll keep you all posted. It's got kind of a soft, curved, rounded profile. Probably can't see that on camera too well, but it's pretty consistent all the way through, and then towards the end it kind of rounds out a bunch more. So I'm probably just going to keep that same profile but thin it out some. Hopefully get this reduced in weight a little bit. Probably shooting for like 55, maybe 50 pounds. Just have to kind of see how it goes. Afternoon, guys. So yesterday I went ahead and rounded this end off. You guys can see that. It's kind of tough to see, but it's got a nice round profile to it, and that is done on both ends now. But I didn't like the way the bowstring was sitting in it, so I don't know if you can see this. Probably not bad lighting, but I put some grooves in it so that the string sat a little bit better. So I'm going to go ahead and do that on this other side now. And again, I've just been using, you know, simple files and sandpaper, so no major tools that I've used. And so far it's looking pretty good. This was all mostly originally done with the Mora 840, so when you look at it just right, you can actually see a couple little lumps in it. I mean, ever so slightly, but since I have to reduce the weight anyway, I'm just going to use a file on that part, and that should work out nice. But it's coming up pretty good. It has kind of a nice rounded profile here, and kind of widens out and becomes a lot more curved and kind of eye shaped. I don't know if you can see that or not. What's going on, guys? So I didn't get a chance to get as much done as I wanted to yesterday. It got rained out, but I did get both the nocks finished and nice and rounded out. And then you probably can't see it on camera, but yeah, I got some small grooves cut in there for the string to sit in nicely, so that came out pretty nice. Up until now, I've pretty much been doing cosmetic stuff, sanding and whatnot, but it turns out one of my limbs is about a ½ inch or a little bit more higher than the other one at rest. I'm sure you can see it on camera now, so I'm hoping that's not going to be a problem. And then when the bow's strung, it's up to about 1.5 inches higher than one limb, so I'm going to see about working on that today. I've marked off some areas I want to leave alone so I don't get any hinges in it or anything like that, and hopefully I'll take care of that. I think on the handle I might kind of round out one edge to give kind of a palm grip, and on the other side maybe just some, you know, finger groove type things. So we'll see how that comes out. I don't have too much wood to work with though, but it's all coming along pretty nice. I'll string it up for you, show you what it looks like. Alright, so it looks pretty good when it's strung up, but again, one side is actually higher than the other. I don't know if I can get that on camera. Yeah, you can see one side is definitely higher. So I'm gonna see about how to take care of that. But all in all, still looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and flex it some, see what that looks like. Alright guys, so we got this tillered out a bit. I worked on one of the limbs yesterday. Got this a little more rounded out. It was kind of squared off on this side from initially when I worked on it. Decided to go ahead and round it out. So of course now I've got a little more bend in this side than I do this side. So I'm going to go ahead and see about evening that up today. Go ahead and take a look at it. It's bending pretty good right now. I think that right now the top limb should look like it's bending a little bit more. Also, when I measure it out, I've got a 27.5-inch draw length. You know, when I do the test or actually measure it. However, right now with this bow, I'm only getting about a 25-inch pull. So I still think I need to reduce it some. It's at 25 inches right now. I think I measured it at still around 60 pounds. So I still need to reduce that a good bit for myself. And so I'll keep y'all updated. Alright, at this point I'm continuing just to use a rasp. I'm just kind of going through and looking for any hot spots, anything that looks a little too high or too low. And of course you always want to make sure to go with the grain real nice, get some real nice clean shavings. Or I find another good technique when you're trying to clean up and get some little scratches out. You can actually buff it in little circles. And that actually, I find, works pretty well. As long as you keep it moving and of course overlap anything you're doing and make sure to cover the area completely. It seems to do a really good job of both pretty much sanding it and making sure to get a lot of the small scratches out, or rather larger scratches. I find it helps a good deal. And of course you always want to check and make sure, go back and check and make sure everything's nice and smooth and straight and not lumpy or anything. So I'm just going to continue doing that and we'll see how it goes. Alright, so here's a little trick. If you lay a string over your bow and slide it up and down, you'll be able to see where it's got hot spots, where it doesn't meet up, where it's too rough or too hard or anything like that. So I don't know, it's just a little simple test. Plus, if you're facing the sun the right way, you'll be able to get a shadow on it and see how it's affecting it different ways. I don't know if it's picking it up on camera or not, but I can see that it's pretty even there. Obviously it's not perfect, but it's actually looking pretty good. The string, falls on it evenly. I don't see any light gaps under it too much. So, a piece of bank line would work real well for that too, I think. So, anyway, just a little tip. Morning, guys. Had a little bit of free time. The weather finally cleared up, so I thought I'd work on the bow some. It's coming along pretty well. Got what I think is going to be the bottom limb, pretty much how I want it. I went through and actually rounded this part out a bunch. On this side, it's kind of squared off in the middle. So I'll see about taking care of that today. This is coming out quite nice and smooth so far. Looks like I have a little bit of work to do on the knock. It's got a little bit of a high spot on it, so I'm going to take care of that. But mostly it's coming along quite nice. Going to see about working on this end today and getting this middle section rounded out, and then of course do some work on the handle.